My name is CMercado. I am presenting Social Media and Science, Reshaping the Dissemination of Science Communication. This is for the American Fisheries Society in Portland, the annual meeting, which is happening August 16th through the 20th, 2015. Authors are myself and my colleague, Pauline Sullivan. We are with HTI. Social media as a critical science tool. Why should you care about using social media for public science communication? Why should you? Why should any of us? Getting out of the noise. Social media and media in general can be overwhelming. What can we do to make meaningful contributions for science and for ourselves individually? And finally, a few thoughts or observations I've discovered about social media over the years. So what are we here for? Why do we attend AFS annual meetings? The answer is C, to drink beer, obviously, courtesy of AFS attendee and AFS app. Social consensus, also C, to drink beer. With the help of the AFS app, the social consensus for the study was indeed put together, and I wanted to say thanks to all those early adopters here helping break a classic stereotype that scientists are antisocial. Here are just a few of the reasons why we attend AFS and why social media is critical. But do we get it? Researchers are often encouraged to use social media, maybe even how to use it, but I think they're not being told why exactly. Andy Tattersall at the Information Resources Group in University of Sheffield said, "The learning curve is steep for academics where they're being urged to take the leap into social media." He describes it as going from first to fifth gear up a steep hill. That means there's a lot of grind, but not a lot of momentum. And honestly, that probably rings true for all of us getting started. If we're not clued in on a few things like the importance of getting our toes wet before diving in, pacing ourselves, or the value of consistency over time, that's probably right. But just like our careers in the sciences or time at university or anything else for that matter, valuable things take time. Social media, despite its relatively instantaneous dissemination, takes time. When we share in social media, everyone benefits. This is pretty obvious. Communicating and sharing information across these groups has never been so easy. If we want to, we can have access to all of this interconnectivity, and we have it in a way that can happen so quickly, it's astounding. Like right now, if I wanted to, I can open up my iPhone, send a tweet to NASA's Ames Research Center or European Union's National Marine Fisheries Research Institute. I can start a dialogue, maybe a potential marine research application or grant that I'm working on, and all of this because social media has that interconnectivity available. In the big picture, it benefits all of us. Valuable science content shared online is for fruitful searches, for being found, for advancing our collective knowledge base. It's kind of the duh statement, everybody knows this, but when we do share our work online, all boats rise. Which channels are mostly used amongst our colleagues and whatnot? I mean, there's quite a few out there, but we'll just go over the basics. Facebook, it's number 2 among all websites in the world. Their data team says that the average distance between people is 4.5 connections. That's a lot. A lot of us use Facebook in an informal way to connect with family and friends. That's not new. What is new and somewhat shocking to me is that Americans for whom Twitter and Facebook serve as a source of news is continuing to rise. Science belongs here. YouTube is number 3 among all the websites in the world, ranked only behind Google and Facebook. YouTube lets us get videos in front of anyone interested in our topics. We all know how that works. Uploading them, tagging them, sharing videos, embedding them into websites even. It's a huge search engine, which makes for a great way to get found or for educating others. We all know LinkedIn. It's based on the concept of how many steps away each of us is from someone we want to communicate with. It's made up of first degree, second degree, and third degree connections. It can be expanded upon by joining groups, and it's often used as an online resume. It's a great tool for careers in the sciences. ResearchGate. The social networking site for scientists and researchers was designed for sharing papers, information, and collaborations, and finding collaborators, as well as asking and answering questions. This is all in a free and open format. They're considered game changers because of how scientists are able to connect around the world and how that enables the advancement of science. Lastly, Twitter. At first, we all thought, what can you do with 140 characters? And we were pretty surprised. According to a study of all the relationships, with there's, I think, about 5.2 billion, the average distance between user here is about 4 people. Google has been experimenting with adding Twitter to its search. It's this big for all those hashtags. If you don't know what hashtags are, they're that pound or number sign used in social media to make it easier for users to find messages with a specific theme or content, like a hashtag AFS 145. That's for this conference. You put the hashtag in front of the word or an unspaced phrase, either in the main text of a message or at the end, and then that will present in the message all of the messages that have been tagged with it. So what are we doing when we connect on social media these days? This graph illustrates how we're currently using social as a tool. Interestingly enough, people are following discussions but not participating in them. It's a good place to start. Nearly 2/3 of the world's population are connecting on social media. Every single day, more people. They're turning to the news, information, conversation, all on the internet. Audiences are slowly shifting how they consume and where they consume information. It takes a while, but it's a given. You can ask the Seattle Post-Intelligencer or Washington Post today about the data, how it was impacting the way they disseminate the news. They're pursuing digital strategies in a very big way because of it. Everything is kind of in shift. And that's why it's become critical for scientists to be in social media. By not sharing online, we are choosing to exclude our work from the dialogue that's happening there right now. Even worse, consider the dialogue that is not happening because of its absence. It's 2015, add 5 more years, and another billion people, that's 8 billion people online. Those numbers can be pretty insane, but let's just keep it simple and we'll start with you. How can you help define your work and connect with others and their interests online? When you get started on LinkedIn, you continue to manage your account. You start by connecting with people you work with those you've worked with in the past and people you know. You already have a network of people with similar interests, and you have the means to share your ideas, your projects you've done, or what you're working on now. How do you go beyond that, though? How do you go beyond what you already know? How do you grow your interests, connect with people? Well, I'd start by joining a LinkedIn group. This is a good way to introduce yourself to new people, get involved with things that matter to you, like the Fish Telemetry Network group or the International Council of Explorations of the Sea group. Collaboratively speaking, we used to be about 6 degrees away from Kevin Bacon, or Carl Sagan if you wish, but because of our online interconnectivity now, we're even closer, which is scary and cool at the same time. We went from sharing typed presentations, hand-carried in manila envelopes or mailed, and this all took a lot of time, to sharing carefully laid out presentations that we've crafted in PowerPoint. Maybe we present them at a conference, or now we're later sharing our presentations at these conferences, but with an integrated online information piece where the content maybe can live online, be accessible, even possibly translatable into other languages for our global audience. Those tools have reshaped what we do and how we do it. So, tools and workflows. What resources are you aware of? Which ones are helpful to your work? Which do you contribute to? Find the tools that work best for you. Here's a great way to start. If you go online, you see how other scientists are using them and hear what they have to say about them, you will find your tribe. In my final thoughts on social media, I thought I'd share with you a few of my fears. Maybe they might resonate with you about using social media for science communication: credibility, scientific integrity, misinformation due to the nature of sound bites, misrepresentation for that matter, authorship, the investment of time, and getting lost in the noise. One of my favorite articles was from the Scientific American called Tapping the Twitterverse for Meaning. How was anyone able to find new ways of extracting meaningful semantics or information from Twitter's daily flood of rants and observations and selfies and everything else? Some of it's significant, some of it's insipid. It's really difficult to cipher through. My local news station, among many others, uses Twitter as a source for news and credible information. This scares me. Today, it's more difficult to know what's reputable source and what isn't when it comes to social media. It can be challenging to decipher its scientific integrity. Another example is predatory open access publishing. Some of you might be familiar with this. It's an exploitative open access business model. It involves charging publication fees to authors without providing editorial and publishing services associated with legitimate journals, whether they're open access or not. There's an example, Scientific Research Publishing is what it's named, also known as SCIRP. One of its journals, which is the Advances in Pure Mathematics, accepted a paper that was written by a random text generator. It wasn't published, though, because the author was unwilling to pay the $500 publication fee. One of my tips for addressing this is BIAL's list of predatory publishers. You'll note the massive jump in predatory online publishers just in the last 5 years. Another social fear is time sink or boost. Social can spin out into tangential rabbit holes, just like Google searches. While sometimes this can be fruitful, it can be a great means of discovery. It can also just be a total time sink if you're not paying attention. I recommend building an information feed by choosing which streams to follow and which hashtags to monitor. Using the hashtags is great because it's not just for Twitter anymore, which gives social content a reach, definitely a time boost. Social media can also spark interest in a paper that might otherwise go unnoticed. Google Scholar is a freely accessible web search engine. It indexes full text of metadata for scholarly literature across an array of publishing formats and disciplines. So, getting out of the noise, and how can we use it to catapult sciences in a meaningful way? Be strategic. Research and limit the channels that you use. If you follow relevant thought leaders or agencies, it will help eliminate some of the noise. Number 2, find a time boost and beware of the time sinks. Do you know anyone that has all the time to read the publications in their field of research? I don't. You can boost your time by using social to make it easier to find out about most salient work applicable to your research and connect yourself with other scientists who are discussing them. Integrating your work with the tools you're probably already using will magnify your efforts and make more of the time that you have. Number 3, join a group. Connect with a worldwide network of colleagues and peers. Number 4, lead by example. You control the messages you send. You'll find yourself contributing to scientific understanding and inspiring others and yourself along the way. It's really true. And then number 5, breathe. It's a deep ocean of information. If you get your feet wet and start out as a spectator, follow people with common interests, follow discussions is something most of you are probably doing anyway, then start sharing links to stories and papers that fascinate you, finally start creating original content. This all takes time, but once you start seeing results, you'll be glad you did. And then finally, what am I looking forward to? Continued evolution of communication. I guess that's kind of a given, but for me, observing microevolution from a biological standpoint, the evolution of communications in the digital age, sharing our understanding of the world and of each other like we haven't experienced before, it's pretty incredible. I also think that the continued integration of information is significant. Getting information from everywhere, your phone, your tablet, your tech, your smart speakers, all of this has the potential to advance knowledge at unprecedented speed. And then finally, the macro view. This is the aggregate of the metadata that can give us a new perspective, viewing ourselves from the 50,000 foot mark. It has the possibilities and capabilities to change the course of humanity. This complete presentation, along with all of AHTI's AFS talks, for this year, and my contact information is now available for you to share and watch later. I just shared this link with all the AFS attendees using my phone with AFS conference app on the activity feed, #HTI@AFS. The link is also available at this website. This concludes my brief presentation of social media and sciences, reshaping the dissemination of science communication. Thank you.